Souls Unitarian Universalist Church, building community, inspiring growth, creating change. Here in the heart of Kansas City, we come together to create this hour of shared reflection so that we might be renewed in courage for these times and inspired to lives of greater dignity, higher purpose, deeper generosity, and more effective action. If you are new to Unitarian Universalism or to our congregation, we want to get to know you and share a part of your journey. If this place is already your spiritual home, welcome back. We need one another, and it is good to be together again. We are so excited to be together in person again after almost 2 years of gathering only online during the coronavirus pandemic. Nevertheless, through the gifts of technology, we continue to celebrate community and connections with each other online also, as we lean into the values of justice, compassion, and reason. Together, we learn the love that has the power to overcome both loneliness in the heart and oppression in the world. Welcome to our service this morning. May the words and music and images that we offer today nourish our best selves, calling forth abundant wisdom and love.
Good morning. And welcome. Welcome to those who we lift up this morning as new partners in our covenant community of memory and promise. Welcome to those who rejoice in returning here to this beloved space and these familiar faces and voices. Welcome to those whose minds and hearts are filled today with the cherishing of motherhood, with happy recollections of mothering and being mothered, with the excitement of motherhood yet to come, with longing and sadness for motherhood that never was or happened badly. However it has been for us as individuals, let us affirm this: motherhood is a holy task. Like any form of divine creativity, it involves many constraints, and yet it must be undertaken freely. It is too heavy a burden to be borne unconsenting. Pregnancy can kill you. Childbirth can kill you. Putting the child's need first, as mothers so often do, can kill you. Raising a child requires both a self-awareness and a self-forgetfulness that can perhaps be acquired no other way. It is sacred work. Like all sacred work, it must be undertaken by choice, which is not to say that the opportunity for motherhood may not come as a surprise, even an unwelcome one. Which is not to deny that the tasks of motherhood can be done poorly, with reluctance, indifference, cruelty even. Some of those who give birth never achieve motherhood. Some who are mothers to many never give birth. In order for the authentic work of mothering to happen, there must be a moment of acceptance, of willingness, of embracing the project with all its constraints, the decision to practice a devotion to this particular good beyond oneself for a long time, for a lifetime. It can't always happen. Sometimes the anomaly in the code means that there is no viable solution set. Sometimes the vessel isn't able to hold, is flawed, cannot abide the intrusion. Sometimes such wrong has been done that nothing good can possibly come of it. Sometimes we just know that we can't, that we won't, that the reconciling motion is out of our reach, either for now or ever. None of these reasons is better than the others. Human intention counts. Human autonomy matters. There is no meaningful yes where no is not also a possibility. Today we celebrate mothers and the holy vocation of motherhood. Today we bear witness to the human capacity for choice, the ability to shape our lives according to our intentions, that is the taproot of meaning and dignity. Today we remind ourselves that a threat to freedom anywhere is a threat to freedom everywhere, and that our faith calls us to respect the worth and dignity of all people, including those who choose not to continue a pregnancy. Today our culture summons us to gratitude for the works of mothering, without which there would be no continuity, no new generation rising. Today, we stand in the fully illuminated paradox of our human condition, filled with awe at the beauty of a world we did not make, filled with gratitude for the legacy of care that has shaped us, filled with rage at the denial of our most elemental freedoms. And still, the turning earth calls your colors forth. Awaken then to your own beauty, the contours of your growth, the ways you have changed, the shapes you have chosen. Praise here your survival, the patient ways you have shifted in the stillness of the stars and through the winds, and the ache of all that has been lost as the seasons turn. Now we come round once more to days of warmth and light. Reach out again for the sun, which delights in your most audacious aims, your daring creativity for yourself and the world. Why not go full bloom today? Extend your petal heart to the new year past the comfort zone of the old season's routine. Let every part of your longing loose to imagine here a world where we are all beautiful and becoming, flowering, choosing, full of power and a future we believe in. Kindled by gratitude, fueled by anger and a deep yearning for justice, we light our chalices this morning. May they burn as beacons on the path to liberation and shine as our witness to how much we have been given and how far we have to go. As we come together in this assembly, each of us brings our gifts to offer. Individually, they are beautiful. Combined, they reveal the diversity and harmony of human community. Today, the flowers we have each brought represent our uniqueness, and their combination shows the beauty and power of our connections to one another. Let us listen once again to the words of Norbert Capek, Unitarian bishop in Prague, Czechoslovakia, who originated the Flower Festival and who perished at Dachau. This is the blessing for the flowers just before they are distributed that he offered when this ritual was first celebrated in his church. In the name of Providence, which implants in the seed the future of a flower, and in our hearts, the longing for people to live in harmony. In the name of the highest good, in whom we move, and who makes parent and sibling, neighbor and stranger, lover and loner what they are. In the names of the great sages and religious leaders who sacrificed their lives to hasten the coming of the age of mutual respect, let us renew our resolution sincerely to be real kin together, regardless of any kind of barrier which estranges us from each other. In this holy resolve, may we be strengthened, knowing that we are ultimately one human family, and that one Spirit, the Spirit of love, unites us so that we may endeavor always for a more perfect and more joyful life. Let's join together in signing Spirit of Life. It is with rejoicing that we this morning have the opportunity formally to welcome into membership those who have joined All Souls Church during the many long months of the COVID-19 pandemic. Ours is a free faith, and our congregation is not based upon dogma or upon creeds, but rather upon the thoughtful and freely given commitment of mind and heart in community. Into this circle of shared search, collective counsel, and mutual support, these people have elected to enter. May this community fulfill in practice their best hopes. May their wisdom and energy be generously shared here. May we welcome them with gladness and with open hearts. Will the following people please come forward when Angie calls your name to sign the membership book and receive your welcome? And if you have family members with you, you're welcome to bring them forward as well.
Got to get my glasses so I can see. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I would also like to extend an warm welcome to all of our new members who joined us during this most trying time. I want to express my deepest gratitude for seeking us out, joining our virtual services, and choosing to make us your spiritual home. I would like to first introduce Liz Mccaney. Liz, anyone? Bueller? No? Okay, well, I will tell you about Liz. She was a member of Topeka Unitarian Fellowship for years, so seeking membership at All Souls when she and her family moved to Kansas City was a given. Her interests include writing, reading, working with clay, grandparenting, and as a retired psychotherapist, social worker, co-leading Zoom trauma management groups for COVID frontline workers.
Wow.
Our next one grew up here, Carissa Stevens.
Yay.
Come on down. Carissa has attended All Souls since she was 10 years old. She recently graduated college with a biology degree and lives in Overland Park with her cat. She spends her free time reading and playing tabletop games. Our next one is Deep Medhi. Deep is a professor at UMKC, which he joined back in 1989. He is currently on leave from UMKC to serve as program director at National Science Foundation, the federal funding agency in science and engineering. He loves Chiefs football and is a huge fan of tennis. He has picked up photography, as a hobby a few years ago, still trying to learn. He has 2 grown sons, one here in Kansas City and the other in Lincoln. Or in England, not Lincoln, England. Megan Bolander. Megan, yay. After moving around the last several years due to her previous career as a props artisan in theater, she moved to Kansas City from Emporia, Kansas. She now works as a direct support professional for a company that works with developmentally disabled adults and is planning to go back to school soon to study to be a physical therapy assistant.
Wow.
A fun fact about Megan is that her favorite dinosaur is the Triceratops.
Okay.
I just saw the Spinosaurus lecture. Very interesting dinosaur. A new member who could not make it but sent us her photo, Jonda Boyce. She is glad to join the society after about 4 years of attending. All Souls has become a very important to her. She has been an out lesbian for over 30 years now and loves how All Souls helps all kinds of humans bring their whole selves to the community. She considers herself an activist, an aspiring ally to members of other identity groups, a lover, not a fighter, an atheist, a nature lover, and a fan of independent music and musicians.
Nice.
Tori Johnson. She's watching The Little Ones, and she sent a really, really long bio, so bear with me. She likes to paint, watch TV, and hang out with her dog.
No.
Our next new member, who also called me at the last minute saying that they couldn't make it, is Shoai and Haruka Konishi. Haruka and her nephew Shoai are excited to be inducted. Shoai enjoys learning about history and current events, and Haruka does dog training.
Oh.
They live in North Kansas City and are looking for ways to serve and connect with the community.
All right.
And that's it for today.
Okay. Hang on. So I would invite our newly received members to join together in speaking the covenant that you see up on your screen, and I'll do it with you. So together we agree, this is now my religious community. It is composed of people both like me and different. Together, we make it what it is. I want this community to be a source of light and wholeness. It will be, if I am. It will make generous gifts if I am a generous giver. It will be a friendly and welcoming place if I remember to reach out. It will be a responsible steward of resources if I participate responsibly in it. It will share beauty and challenging thought with other people if I invite them. It will be a community of fearlessness and faith, of loyalty and love, if I, who make it what it is, am filled with these. As I become a member of this congregation, I dedicate myself to the task of becoming all the things I want my church to be. Now I would invite the congregation to rise and join together with our new members in speaking the words of our covenant. Goodwill is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Into this community, so dedicated and so understood, these new members are now enfolded. May our congregation nurture and challenge them, offering comfort and guidance and calling forth the best within them. May they, in their turn, bring to this institution energy, vision, and commitment, so that it may become ever more fully the community that we have hoped for it to be. Together, we rejoice in the promise of new friendship and growth, and again, we pledge to walk together in the way of truth, compassion, and freedom. May this splendid venture of life continue to be celebrated faithfully here, and in this community, may the human spirit find an ample home. Congratulations all, yay. We are so happy, yes. Now, if you would, remain standing, and as we lift our voices together in song, I invite you to hear these words of this hymn in their original intent as a voice of resistance against all tyranny and the power of community to rejoice and support freedom even in the midst of struggle.
when tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing to prison cell and dungeon vile? Our thoughts to them are ringing, when friends by shame go undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
Now you can be seated for a moment. As this song reminds us, being in community is not about grabbing what we want for ourselves. It is about being together and receiving the gifts that come to us from others. The point is not to get whatever you can as much as you can. Instead, it is to give what you can to enrich the lives of others. This is what builds a community over time. And in the long run, it is also a much more satisfying way to live our lives. Meaning comes from what we give and what we are given, not from what we seize and take, despite what the billboards and the TV commercials may suggest. And this is why, in distributing the flowers this morning, we don't just reach in and pick out a flower for ourselves. Rather, we choose a flower from the vase to give to another person. Often, what we receive from the gifts of community is not at all what we might have expected. It turns out to be something we didn't even know we needed until it was given to us. This way of being in community teaches us to be open to the unexpected beauties and joys of life, to recognize the novelty and creativity of the universe. It also helps us to remember that even the most basic values that we share, like freedom, reason, compassion, and justice, can all be expressed in many different ways, and that we can always learn from other people's ideas and ways of living. So when you come to choose a flower here in just a moment, select it carefully, but not for yourself. Rather, receive with gratitude the blossom that someone ahead of you in line has picked for you, and then choose a gift for someone else, the person behind you in line. Maybe someone dear to you. Maybe someone you don't know at all. And trust the work of community to let that be the very thing that each of us needs. Together we make this congregation a garden in which each of us gives and receives and grows, offering our unique beauty to the world. May all that we are and all that we might yet be flower here in the sunshine of one another's love. I'm going to ask you to please come forward now along the side aisles, and when you have both received and given a flower, adults may go down the center aisle and return to your seats, and the young people who are leaving may go to their religious education classes. So I'm going to start with you. You keep that one and pick one to give to Scott. I will give you that, and then you pick one to give to Anna.
Good morning. I'm Amy Robertson, and I'm going to share with you some information that Kay Jones put together for us. She is our denominational liaison, but she couldn't be with us here in person this morning. We all hear the same words and see the same images every day, the horror that is Ukraine. And we think, sometimes aloud, so helpless, half a world away. But as it turns out, we have siblings there, brother and sister Unitarians who are not half a world away, but who are right next door to the carnage and the heartache. The Hungarian Unitarian Church and its charitable arm, with the financial support of the UUA and the International Convocation of UU Women, is deeply involved in helping the refugees and the internally displaced people in Ukraine. Here is a little bit of what they've been able to do. On February 26th, just 2 days after the invasion, a fundraising appeal was begun. By April 17th, it had raised $111,872. The first goal was a shipment of humanitarian aid to Transcarpathia in southwest Ukraine on March 19th. A second shipment was scheduled for April 20th. One Transcarpathian family is residing in church offices in Budapest. Another destination was Odessa. Several refugee families from Odessa found shelter in Hungarian Unitarian church buildings and have helped in organizing aid efforts for their city. Shipments were sent March 26th and April 16th. Two priorities for refugee families are jobs for the adults and education for the children. Activities for preschoolers through teenagers are being organized. The Budapest Unitarian Church is hosting a family in its facilities. One refugee woman launched a Ukrainian kindergarten in Cluj. It can accommodate 20 children for 5 hours a day, and it is a great help to those families. It provides education for the children, and it frees time for the parents to work. Today, we can help the Unitarians in Cluj and Budapest as they help the Ukrainians fleeing their horror. Today's offering will support this work through the Convocation of Unitarian Universalist Women. We invite you to contribute generously, as our special offering for this morning is now given and gratefully received.
Hello, my name is Russell Feldhausen, and it is my honor to serve as the Vice President of the All Souls Board of Trustees. I'm here today to share information about the upcoming All Souls Annual Meeting. As required by Article 4 of our Constitution, we must hold an annual meeting of our society in May each year. This year's meeting will be held on Sunday, May 22nd at 1 p.m. in the church's Prague auditorium. If you are unable to attend in person, the meeting will also be available via Zoom, so you can join using a computer, tablet, or smartphone, or you can even call in using a regular telephone. The information for joining on Zoom can be found on the main page of our website at allsoulskc.org. Look for the Community Connection link on the home page. The purpose of the annual meeting will be to adopt an annual budget and to elect incoming members of the Board of Trustees and various church committees. In addition, we will be voting on several items, including a request for a grant from the endowment, amendments to the church constitution and bylaws, an amendment to the church mission statement, and a ratification of business conducted online during the pandemic. Details about each of these items can be found on the church website or in the newsletter. To facilitate holding our annual meeting both in person and online, we have adopted a process to make sure every voting member is informed and able to cast a ballot. On Friday, May 13th, an email will be sent to all certified voting members containing information about the meeting and how to cast your vote. If you do not receive this email but believe you should have, please send an email to board@allsoulskc.org and we will look into it. For members attending in person, a paper ballot will be distributed at the annual meeting and we will follow standard parliamentary procedure for handling voting in person. Members may also submit a form to allow someone else to vote as an in-person proxy on their behalf. Details for proxy voting can be found on the church website or in the newsletter. For members attending online via Zoom or members who are unable to attend, a ballot will be sent via email shortly before the start of the meeting. That ballot must be submitted online within 10 minutes of the time that ballots are collected at the annual meeting in person. However, if you run into any technology issues or prefer not to use the online form, we will provide information during the meeting for how to cast your vote via phone. We will then tabulate the results and share them by the end of the meeting. Here are some next steps you'll want to be aware of as we get closer to the annual meeting. First, the Board of Trustees met for their regular meeting on April 20th. During that meeting, we created and approved an agenda for the annual meeting, and at a prior meeting, we also passed an annual budget presented from the Finance Committee to be presented to the congregation for approval. These documents will be shared via the church newsletter and on our website. Next, please watch for an email on May 13th from board@allsoulskc.org containing information about the meeting. Again, if you don't receive that email and believe you should have, contact us at board@allsoulskc.org and we'll look into it. Also, please take some time to review the presented agenda and budget and let us know if you have any questions or concerns. Finally, make sure you mark your calendars for May 22nd at 1:00 p.m. for the All Souls annual meeting. We hope to see you there. Since we are back to meeting in person, the Cassidy sisters are once again providing a delicious Sunday Plus lunch before the annual meeting. Please remember to pre-order. We hope that this process will allow everyone to attend the annual meeting and feel that their voice is heard. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please email the Board of Trustees at board@allsoulskc.org or reach out to any board member. Thank you.
Let's join together in the words of dedication for our offering. We dedicate our offerings and our actions to the mission at the heart of this congregation, to build a respectful, caring community, to inspire personal and spiritual growth, and to create change toward a just and compassionate society.
From Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. I like to think they were the first flowers I saw over my mother's shoulder as the pink blanket slipped away from my face and their colors flooded my consciousness. Love at first sight. Through cloudy newborn eyes, their radiance formed the first botanical synapses in my wide-awake newborn brain. I was born to these flowers, and they came back for my birthday every year, weaving me into our mutual celebration. If a fountain could jet bouquets of chrome yellow in dazzling arches of chrysanthemum fireworks, that would be Canada goldenrod. Each 3-foot stem is a geyser of tiny gold daisies, demure in miniature, exuberant en masse. Where the soil is damp enough, they stand side by side with their perfect counterpart, New England asters. Full-on royal purple surrounding a disk as bright as the sun at high noon. A golden orange pool, just a tantalizing shade darker than the surrounding goldenrod. Alone, each is a botanical superlative. Together, the visual effect is stunning. Purple and gold, a regal procession in complementary colors. I just wanted to know why. Why do they stand beside each other when they could grow alone? Why this particular pair? What is the source of this pattern? Why is the world so beautiful? It could so easily be otherwise. I chose botany because I wanted to learn about why asters and goldenrod look so beautiful together. The human eye is superbly equipped to detect these colors, yellow and purple, and send a signal pulsing to the brain. This doesn't explain why I perceive them as beautiful, but it does explain why that combination gets my undivided attention. The visual effect that so delights a human like me may be irrelevant to the flowers. The real beholder whose eye they hope to catch is a bee bent on pollination. Bees perceive many flowers differently than humans do, due to their perception of additional spectra, such as ultraviolet radiation. As it turns out, though, goldenrod and asters appear very similarly to human eyes and to bee eyes. We both think they are beautiful. Their striking contrast when they grow together makes them the most attractive target in the whole meadow, a beacon for bees. Growing together, both receive more pollinator visits than they would if they were growing alone. It's a testable hypothesis. It's a question of science, a question of art, a question of beauty. The question of goldenrod and asters was, of course, just emblematic of what I really wanted to know. It was an architecture of relationships, of connections, that I yearned to understand. I wanted to see the shimmering threads that hold it all together, and I wanted to know why we love the world, why the most ordinary scrap of meadow can rock us back on our heels in awe. The September pairing of purple and gold is lived reciprocity. Its wisdom is that the beauty of one is illuminated by the radiance of the other. Science and art, matter and spirit, indigenous knowledge and Western science. Can they be goldenrod and asters for each other? When I am in their presence, their beauty asks me for reciprocity, to be the complementary color, to make something beautiful in response.
To make something beautiful in response. Let me tell you a story about a woman who was and was not a mother. A woman I never met, who nevertheless mothered me and our movement, whose life was glorious and tragic and above all chosen within the heaviest constraints of history. Marie Varuna Octavik, usually called Maja, was born in 1888 and grew up in Western Bohemia, which is now the Czech Republic. Together with her parents and sister, she emigrated to the United States when she was 19 in 1907. Within 2 years, she had mastered English and graduated from Columbia University's School of Library Science. She began working at the Webster branch of the New York Public Library in 1909, and 5 years later, she was made head of its Czech section. There she met many of the city's expatriate Czech immigrants who came to find books and newspapers in their native language. One of these was a Baptist minister from Saxony and Moravia named Norbert Capek. Not only was he reading the newspapers to keep up with the events in their shared homeland, he was also doing research on the history of radical religious movements there. He was a political progressive who was very influenced by the heritage of the radical low church Protestant reformers like the Anabaptists, the 15th century Hussites, and the Moravian Brethren. Both Maja and Norbert were born into the ethnic Catholic Church, and both had soon rejected its ideas when they were quite young. Norbert decided to join the Baptist church, but Maja never found a church that she wanted to join. Norbert felt that religious community was important and necessary, so he became a Baptist minister who often challenged the Catholic authorities. In 1910, he had become involved with the International Association for Religious Freedom and was first introduced to British and American Unitarianism. By 1914, his increasingly outspoken criticism of the church and government hierarchy made it unsafe for him to remain in Eastern Europe, and he accepted a call from a Slovakian Baptist church in New York City. Shortly after Capek arrived in America with his second wife, Marie, and 8 children, Marie died suddenly of a cerebral hemorrhage. As the First World War progressed, Norbert became a tireless advocate for the right of the Czech people to form an independent nation at the end of the conflict, and he raised money and collected clothing to help those in need in Czechoslovakia during the fighting. Maja and Norbert shared many religious and political views about their country. Both wanted to help their fellow citizens become independent, educated, and free from all forms of tyranny. Despite the difference in their ages, he was 47 and she was 29 when they met. They fell in love and were married in June of 1917. By the fall of 1919, Norbert had decided he could not continue with integrity as a Baptist minister, and with Maja's encouragement, he resigned from the congregation he was serving. With the end of the war, the declaration of Czechoslovakian independence, both Maja and Norbert were eager to return there and help to build a new nation and a new church along democratic lines. By now, there were only 3 of Norbert's 9 children still living at home, and they enjoyed visiting various churches on Sundays and relating stories of their experiences to their now unchurched father and stepmother. While waiting for their house to sell in order to finance the Capek's return to Europe, the children discovered the First Unitarian Church of Essex County in East Orange, New Jersey. After hearing their enthusiastic accounts, Maja and Norbert began to visit also, and by January of 1921, they had joined. Before they left for Prague at the end of that June, Norbert had made contact with Sam Elliott, the president of the American Unitarian Association, and took with him Elliott's promise of endorsement and financial support for the work of founding a Unitarian church in the capital city of the new Czechoslovakia. Maja and Norbert, the 2 church planters, got right to work, renting space for the new congregation wherever they could find it. By February of 1922, they had organized the Prague Congregation of Liberal Religious Fellowship. Norbert was a popular preacher, and now that there was no government-established religion, disillusioned former Catholics, Protestants, and Jewish people flocked to this new church based on reason, compassion, and freedom of conscience. The gatherings were fairly simple and plain, without elaborate rituals that would remind people of the traditions they had left behind. But the Capeks felt that something was missing. They wanted to find a way to bring a sense of beauty and ceremony that would feel inclusive to all the different members of their community, no matter what their background. At the end of their 3rd church program year, in June of 1923, they tried out a new idea, the flower celebration, where every person brought a flower to contribute and took home a different flower as a symbol of diverse community. It was a great success. The members loved it and wanted to do it again. Over the next several years, 2 other important things happened. The congregation was able to buy and renovate an old palace as a permanent home, with help from the British and American Unitarian organizations. And in 1926, Maja's important role was recognized when she was formally ordained to the ministry by the church. No longer was she regarded as her husband's loyal assistant, but honored as a minister in her own right. The congregation grew to about 3,200 members, making it the largest Unitarian church in the world. Another high point came in 1930 when the Unitarian Church of Czechoslovakia was officially recognized by the Czech government. But the wheels of history were about to turn toward tragedy again as Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party rose to power in Germany and their effort to conquer Europe began to unfold. As you might imagine, Norbert was outspoken in his preaching against all that Hitler and the Nazis stood for. By the time that the Munich Accords were signed in September of 1938, it was clear to both Maja and Norbert that there would be challenging times ahead for their congregation. They were already receiving a steady flow of political dissidents, Jews, and other refugees fleeing Germany, Austria, and the Sudetenland, seeking help and support from their liberal church organization. It appeared only a matter of time before Germany would invade Czechoslovakia itself, despite its promises in Munich. The American Unitarian Association stood ready to help, and the Capeks were hopeful that if Maja were to go on a speaking tour of American congregations, she could raise a significant amount of money, as well as calling attention to the plight of these refugees and the church that was being overwhelmed by them. On February 4th, 1939, Martha and Reverend Waite Still Sharp, remember them, the founders of the UU Service Committee, set sail from New York for Prague as envoys from the AUA, bringing desperately needed funds and the intention to set up an office to assist refugees to emigrate out of Nazi-controlled Europe. That same month, Maja Capek made the opposite journey, leaving Norbert and her stepdaughters Bodana and Zora, as well as Bodana's husband, to carry on with the church in Prague, while she preached her way across New England and pleaded for American financial help. Maja and Norbert would never see each other again. One of Waite Still and Martha Sharp's first recommendations to their sponsors in Boston was that they should offer both Norbert and his son-in-law paid positions in the United States in order to get them out of harm's way in Europe. This was promptly done, but neither Norbert nor Carol Haspel was willing to leave their parishioners at such a critical moment. By April, Germany had invaded Czechoslovakia and taken Prague, and it was impossible for Maja to return there. The following year, in 1940, she began serving North Unitarian Church in New Bedford, Massachusetts, as its minister. Originally called Unity Home, this congregation was a mission of the First Unitarian Church of New Bedford that had become a separate congregation in 1917. The church served a community composed mostly of immigrants from Central Europe and their children who worked in the local mills. Unity Home began by serving the young people of North End in New Bedford. Rooms were taken for a girls' social union where the daughters of immigrants could meet for sewing classes, millinery, and cooking classes, as well as games. All girls were welcome, free of charge. In these same rooms, a free kindergarten for younger children was established, said to be the first in New Bedford. In 1901, Unity Home was built to accommodate these increasing programs and eventually a church. Under the leadership of Maja Capek from 1940 to 1943, the church prospered. She was said to have a particular interest in the young people of the church, although her influence extended to all the members of the congregation. It was during this time that she introduced the flower celebration to the congregations in Cambridge and New England, where it began to spread across the North American Unitarian churches. In 1943, Maja Capek left the New Bedford congregation to serve with the United Nations Relief and Rehabilitation Agency, including for a number of years as a displaced persons specialist in Egypt and Palestine, helping Europeans ravaged by the Second World War. It was not until after the end of the war in 1945 that Maja learned the truth of what she had long feared. Norbert, together with his daughter Zora, had been arrested by the Gestapo in the spring of 1941, accused of listening to BBC radio broadcasts and of preaching high treason. The two of them spent a year in prison awaiting trial, after which she was sent to a forced labor camp in Germany, where she survived and was later liberated, and he was sent to Dachau, where he was executed in July of 1942. In a letter which he gave to Zora at the conclusion of their trials in Dresden, Norbert wrote this about the state of his spirits. "It is worthwhile to live and fight courageously for sacred ideals. Though my body be ravaged by evil winds, my soul can never be destroyed. Even though we are disappointed 1,000 times or fallen in the fight for freedom, with all our efforts seeming worthless, I know I have lived amidst eternity. Be grateful, my soul, that my life has been worth living. He who was pressed from all sides but remained victorious in spirit is welcomed into the choir of heroes. He who overcame the captivity of the mind and gave it wings enters into the golden time of victory." In 1947, Maja joined the organization Relief for Czechoslovakia, providing assistance for the people of her homeland. After several years of retirement, she died in California on December 2nd, 1966. What makes the flowers beautiful? The heady scent of lilacs, the delicate structure of an iris, the incandescent pink of an azalea, the profusion of a peony. What is it that makes a life beautiful, noble, inspired, selfless, holy? What Maja and Norbert saw was that they illuminate each other when you gather them, the flowers in their variety into a bouquet, our lives in their diversity into community. We make each other lovely, standing together, standing side by side. What makes a mother? As far as I can tell, Maja never bore a baby of her own body during her marriage to Norbert, but she mothered a congregation into being and a long line of desperate people who were saved in various ways by her work and determination. She gave us the flower celebration, which was the visceral essence of my own childhood Unitarian Universalism: beauty, uniqueness, interdependence, generosity, abundance. Something beyond cool reason, important as that is. Color and fragrance, the memory of good lives, faithful to high ideals. Through this gift, Maja Capek mothered my faith, and I remember her today and always with gratitude. And Norbert, aster to her goldenrod, gave us another thing as well, this hymn to the beauty of the interdependent earth. So let's rise and sing.
Sweet
we release this chalice flame, sending the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment out into the world, while we also carry them in our minds and hearts until we are together again. At the first flower celebration at the Unitarian Church in Prague in June of 1923, Maja and Norbert Capek invited their congregation to bless the gathered bouquet with these words: Infinite Spirit of life, we ask your blessing on these flowers, your messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts, to be one in desire and affection and devotion to the common good. May we cherish community as one of life's most precious gifts and realize that whatever we each can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to carry forward the saving work of this world. Let the memory of their lives and work be with us today as we confront the struggles and disappointments of our own time. And may the inspiration of this flower live on, even when it has vanished from our hands, so that the color and fragrance of our lives may endure to bless all of us here in Earth's garden growing.